Previously on the book of Daniel, 4 Jewish individuals who had been captured in war were sent to work with the lead eunuch in the court of the evil king Nebuchadnezzar. They worked as slaves and received new names, which they all used except for Daniel. Because they were transgender, they wore fancy robes and served in the highest offices of the court, overseeing finances and education of the region. Daniel made a deal with his boss to get out of eating defiled food and instead only eat a vegetarian diet. By refusing to eat the food of the king, they were breaking the law, but honoring their God. They were able to get away with it because their bodies continued to please the king and others in the court who liked to look at them. And probably other stuff. Now, on to our story from the 3rd chapter of Daniel. King Nebuchadnezzar made a golden statue whose height was 60 cubits and whose width was 60 cubits and put it in Babylon. Then King Nebuchadnezzar sent for the fancy business people and the politicians from all over and asked them to come to the dedication of the statue. All the respectable people from around came as requested. They were told, "You are commanded, all people of all nations and all languages, that when you hear music, you are to fall down and worship the golden statue of King Nebuchadnezzar. Whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into the fiery furnace into a blazing fire." So as soon as all people heard the music, all people of all nations and all languages fell down and worshipped the golden statue. Around this time, the Chaldeans were bullying the Jewish people. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "O king, live forever! You, king, have made a decree that everyone who hears the music shall fall down and worship the golden statue, and whoever does not fall down and worship the throne shall be thrown into the fiery furnace of fire." There are some trans Jewish people appointed to oversee the finances of this province in Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They pay no heed to you. They do not serve your gods, and they do not worship the golden statue that you set up. King Nebuchadnezzar was furious with rage and commanded that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought in. They came in, and Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods and you do not worship the golden statue that I set up? Now, if you are ready when you hear the music to fall down and worship the statue that I have made, well and good. But if you do not worship, you shall immediately be thrown into a furnace of blazing fire. And who is the God who will deliver you out of my hands?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to present a defense to you in this matter. If our God, whom we serve, delivers us from the furnace of blazing fire and out of your hand, king, let that God deliver us. But if not, it will be known, O king, that we're not going to serve your gods, and we will not worship the golden statue that you set up." Then King Nebuchadnezzar was so filled with rage against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that his face was distorted. He ordered the furnace heated up 7 times more than was customary and ordered some of the strongest guards in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the furnace of blazing fire. So the men were bound, still wearing their fancy robes. Because the king commanded, and it was urgent, and the furnace was so overheated with raging flames, it killed the strong men who lifted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But the 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down all tied up into the furnace of blazing fire. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished and rose up quickly. He said to his counselors, "Wasn't it 3 men who we bound up and put in the fire?" They said to the king, "True, king." He replied, I see 4 men unbound and walking around in the fire, and they are not hurt, and the 4th has the appearance of a god." Nebuchadnezzar then approached the door of the furnace of blazing fire and said, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here." So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out from the fire, and all those fancy people gathered around and saw that the fire had not had any power over their bodies, because they were looking at the bodies of those men. The hair on their heads was not singed, their fancy robes were not harmed, and not even the smell of fire was on them. Nebuchadnezzar said, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent this extra person, angel, and delivered our slaves who trusted in him." These transgender slaves disobeyed the king's command and yielded up their bodies rather than serve and worship any god other than their own. Therefore, I make a decree. Any people, nations, or language that utters blasphemy against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be torn from limb to limb and their houses laid in ruins, for there is no other God who is able to deliver in this way. King Nebuchadnezzar learned a lesson, but he had not learned to be kind.